Yep, real love.
Right, we are live there. We are waiting for the stream to come up here.
We are streaming. Stream health is good.
For once. It's not dicking about with the resolution.
Indeed.
Let's work.
It's Saturday, 1900. I'm here.
Good man, yeah. Thank you for replying swiftly.
I do like a swift reply. I normally know whether or not it's yes or no, so...
Exactly. Can't be dealing with these maybe people.
That's it. Rather know where I'm going to be.
Go away. Can we hear ourselves? Yes, we can, I think. Yep, can. Good. Hello and welcome to the LSU Report Playoff Edition.
Oh no.
It is. We are entering week 15, but of course we will stop back and go and look at week 14 first. But of course, as always, I need to introduce our esteemed guest on the show, as always, the co-host Chris Leach. How's it going?
Good evening.
Chris
Yes,
Leach?
I am very well, very well. What a week we have just had, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I feel better to be coming here and talking about some quality weekage,
Yeah.
as opposed to normal. So I say where there were very few. There are very few undeserved wins this week.
Yeah, very few, and yeah, we will see in a second. And as the title of the show suggests, while it was a great last week in terms of holistic league view for the LOC, but for many teams it was just one big disappointment. And in case you didn't see, Chris, the title of the show is One Big Old Disappointment.
One big old disappointment. Well, to be honest, yes, judging on my bench last week, that's it. That's basically where I am. But I have no regrets. That's it. I have no regrets. And to be fair, the 4 teams that have made it into the playoffs, as you'll see later on,
Yeah.
are the 4 teams that deserve to be there.
I
As
think so.
always.
I
As
think so.
always.
Yeah, you can, so at one point in time you could definitely argue that maybe deserved to be 5, but I think you are absolutely right. The 4
Yeah.
that made it in the end did deserve to make it. But before we get to all that, we will, of course, take a look at we'll have the league news, which basically just is the transactions at this point, of which, as you can imagine, there's not many, so Chris has got a curry to get to, so this might be a very long show, and there is not a lot of transactions, so that's helping his cause, because with only 4 playoff teams, some consolation teams will undoubtedly claim, but most will not bother, which is kind of, yeah, which is, which, up to you, you do it how you want, and it's kind of nice when most of the consolation teams don't, because ultimately that makes it a bit more of a competition for the teams who still do have something to play for.
Yeah.
But here we go. We have, that can't be the first one, can it? That can't be the first one. What's going on here? These are the first ones. Is it? No, that was last
That was
week.
the first one.
No, that was December 5th. Wow, okay, maybe...
There was hardly anything then this week.
Maybe there was hardly anything at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go from here then. So, it would help if I go off of just the ads bit though. So we can do this properly. Right. No. Oh, there they are. They've mystically appeared. That was weird. So here we go. Tom's Turrets added Anthony Fursker for $11 and Chris Herndon, that guy that keeps finding his way onto the rosters.
He does.
Jonathan Smith is now injured. I don't know if that was the case before or not.
Doesn't matter a jot anyway, because...
No, well, I agree. I looked at his points and I kind of see why Nigel added him. Still completely stand by our absolute slating. I can see why, but yeah, at the same time, this is also why we completely slated.
Fursker is not Delaney Walker, and he never will be, sadly, in that offence. So yes, we'll see how it works. $11, late season spend.
Tom's got money left, so there you go. He also added Damian Williams for $11 and dropped Austin Eckler. It's a bit of a bold drop, but as Eckler does have a concussion. They're on the short week this week, so he's definitely not going to play this week. Who knows, 2 weeks time, and that's even if Tom's still in it at that point. Indeed. Or is he in it now? Who knows? We already know because he was confirmed last week, of course, and before. But Damian Williams, you had him in your team briefly, and with Kareem Hunt obviously deciding he'd rather punch women than play American football, allegedly. Actually, no.
Well,
it's just a video.
He did kick. I didn't think he punched, but he did kick.
Okay, kick women instead of instead of play American football. The Chiefs did implement a bit more of a committee approach. Damian Williams scoring, I believe, 2 touchdowns on the day.
Yep,
and Spencer Ware obviously will do the ground and pound stuff, but Damian Williams will certainly do the scat back variety stuff. So nothing wrong with that at all. But Detonators added Robbie Anderson for $5 and dropped Chris Conley. Footfires, you added the Lions D and dropped the Cardinals D. They're playing the Bills this week, I believe. ADLZ added Dallas Goddard and dropped Mark Andrews. And they also added CJ Osmar and dropped Kareem Hunt. Finally dropping Kareem Hunt, like I said. And I think Nige, for the first time in a few weeks, has actually listened to our advice of...
he's got at least one usable tight end there.
Exactly. I don't have a problem with either of those. Goddard, we saw last year, Trey Burton had a few decent games in Philadelphia, despite being the second tight end at Hurts, and you can see there's absolutely no difference there with Goddard. He might do nothing, but he at least has a chance of doing something.
Yeah.
And he was very unfortunate not to have like an 80-yard touchdown in last week's game. So that's the type of player you like to have on your team, of course. And then CJ Zamar, who, he's not sexy, but he is the starting tight end for a team that profiles to be in a lot of losing situations.
And he's playing the Raiders this week.
Raiders, one of the softest defenses against tight ends, so no problems with that either. And there's no more transactions on that page, but I'm pretty sure we have a couple more. Or I might be lying. No, it doesn't look like so it is a low week, as I said it would be. So we will now just go straight to the recaps. No other league news to speak of. So I don't think we picked a marquee matchup as such last week. We kind of just reviewed. But how about we pick it off in ascending order of interest, shall we say. So I guess let's start off with this one, because this kind of it was a very good game, actually. It's a good one to start on, but this was kind of the one we had in the books. In terms of Patterson had already missed out on playoffs, their season's done, looking to try and play spoilers one last time. However, ADLZ were very well positioned going into the final week of the season. Pretty much, mate, it would have taken a fairly substantial swing, which if they lost this game, could have happened. They would have still made it, however. So 104 to 101, Nige gets the win, despite the big 0 at tight end, which, again, we called.
Yes, we did.
Although he did start another player by the end of this, but that player he chose was also not a good choice, as it would turn out. No. So, you can see it was a close one. Pat really gave it a go, just didn't quite have the legs, despite Amari Cooper's monumental 40-point effort. History of this matchup: ADLZ is now 5-1. Go away, Siri. You're not part of this podcast. They are now 5-1 against Pakistan. And Chris, please give me your 1-minute summary of the game while I find the clock for you.
Well, yes, both teams were carrying a player, really. I mean, look at McCoy's 1 yard. One
was, as we were saying on the weekend, very self-inflicted in Nige's tight end, and the other somewhat unfortunate and arguably cost him the game through no fault of his own. LaShawn McCoy missing most of the game due to that hamstring.
Almost certainly. Sometimes you need that a bit of. I mean, Amari Cooper, earlier in the season, he was that sort of player that was in and out of Pat's team, but now gone to the Cowboys, and that's fantastic. Absolutely right. Better offense, same player, but yeah, much improved. Look, I won't make any bones about it. Without that 39 points or 40 points that Cooper has, it's another disappointing week for Pat. But on the other side, it's another solid week from ADIZ. Yes, he's carrying a player. This team is in badly needed a tight end. I think that's what's going to prevent him from really going on to achieve maybe winning this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, it's an improved performance from Pat, albeit with one of his stars going mad. There's not too much you can say about ADIZ apart from they're banged up. They're banged up and without a key skill position. I think that's one thing to take on into the playoffs, and that's not a good thing to take on.
No, definitely not. But I think one area we have seen ADLZ change now, and it really is through. I mean, so it's the running back. So we've slated this team for their running backs. If we look down, he's still obviously had Hunt, lost him. Gore has been a mainstay in the starting lineup for a lot of the season. And then behind that, there's not really been much else.
Not at all.
But so Nige likes to stock up on the handcuffs near the end of the season in the event of injuries, because it is injury-prone position.
Yep.
And he really has locked in to a degree, so he already had Ware for Hunt, which makes sense as a handcuff. He added Jalen Samuels before James Conner went down. He also added Justin Jackson after Melvin Gordon went down. So he's got quite lucky with the handcuff situation. That he's now got, it's not a great running back call because these guys are still going to be in committees, but as we see here, it's serviceable. And a Frank Gore of the world this particular week wouldn't have cost them the game, but another might well have done.
What I will say here is that one thing that they will take on and will take some solace in is that there's very few touchdowns on that board. Yes, Smith-Schuster's got 2, but other than that, there's very few. And even from his QB as well, interestingly.
Yeah, and that's the other issue. It's popping up right now.
Yeah. So Cam's got one shoulder.
And not the one you want when you're a right-handed thrower.
No, quite. So there's always more potential for improvement there, and I mean, say with extra touchdowns in there, it could be a phenomenal effort. But he's going to need that going into the playoffs because there are some dangerous teams with some dangerous players in there.
Absolutely. So Nige does make the playoffs. Not only that, he wins the division. For how many years in a row must that be now?
Quite a few,
9-5, so a good end of the season. Meanwhile, Palestine, they finished 2-12. Grenang Gang could win and avoid being bottom. Pat was bottom entering this game, so he needed to win, but the points were fairly close, so we will see the result of that game in a bit. Meanwhile, we will go to, I guess, our next least interesting game. We'll go to this one. Dream Team versus Forge Flyers. The reason I say the next least interesting, Dream Team, of course, had already made the playoffs. They were playing for the first seed, but in terms of actual meaningfulness on his side, there wasn't a lot. On your side, it would have taken Bedene's loss and a Tuckfard's loss, and then some points for you to make the playoffs. So it was always a long shot. As I say, it nearly transpired that you had a chance, but not quite. It wasn't close, really, and indeed you didn't even get the win in this one, 90-81. And we'll see a big reason why for that in a second. If we look at the chart here, Viv sprung out to a lead. You did a good job of trying to pull it back, though. Not too far away in the end, but a pretty gritty low scorer. Viv's somewhat fortunate to win 2 weeks in a row. I think now he's had weeks like this, so it's a bit of a worry, but Chris, I'll let you tell me about what happened in this game.
I didn't play the right players. Basically.
We'll just go straight to this.
So you see how many points are on the bench. I mean, you look at that. It's 92 points on the bench. That's a crazy score on the bench. Yes, most of them are Derrick Henry. Yes, most of them are George Kittle. And yes, it's very easy to say after the event that should have played there. And I probably should have played Derrick Henry.
But it's also entirely reasonable that you didn't, because Joe Mixon and Jeff Wilson, two entrenched starting running backs with decent matchups, makes sense. And even Curtis Samuel, really the second receiver, who didn't do badly either. None of them did badly. Derrick Henry was playing the Jags, and Derrick Henry, we would just look at his points. It's not been a pretty picture all season long.
No.
So this was so out of left field, you can't even see left field.
No, it's true.
He's been a bit stronger lately, but yeah.
Yeah, he did. He ran. I say Derrick Henry runs wild. He did run wild. Yes, it didn't matter in the grand scale of things. It wouldn't have made that much of a difference. The other thing that I can say is that the key players that I do rely on every week, i.e. Wilson and Cooks, didn't turn up. Butker missed 2 field goals to leave. I think it was 12 points on the field. So there are many ways, and that you can look and see I could have won this game. But actually, even if I had won, I'd still have got into the playoffs, or a consolation bracket of the playoffs, into a in the same position as I am now, which is in it. So it doesn't matter for me.
No, yeah.
But 7-7, I was very happy with for the season. On Viv's side, yes, he's picked the right QB this week.
Yeah, and we'll look at Goff's score. He finished negative in the end. So great decision.
That's right. Other than that, though, there's a lot of negative things to look at.
It's a bit worrying for all 3 of the firmly entrenched playoff teams in Tom's Times, ADSE, and the Dream Team. They are looking very, very shaky as the nearer we've got to the end. It's much the same here. Yes, Brady did well. Kamara did okay. So did Edelman. But behind that,
Yes, granted, the Seattle Minnesota game was a difficult game for both
That was
teams.
a dud, yeah.
So a guy like Adam Thielen didn't have much of a chance.
Again, he's not been great since he suffered that injury a few weeks ago.
And he's not in that imperious form that he was earlier in the season. So, yeah, another one that's maybe Dream Team not tacking down ever so slightly. But we'll see in the previews this week as to what his matchups are, because it's very dependent on that.
And you fall 4-6 all time against Viv. There you go.
What a shame.
So we'll go to we'll go to this one next, and again, much a similar scenario as your game, but the opposite for the team that already made it. Tom's Torrents, they could have potentially got the first seed if they'd won and outscored Viv by enough. Sorry, no, if the Dream Team had lost and they had won. They did win, but obviously the Dream Team won, so it did not matter. Meanwhile, Ben Necessities, they also had a slim chance of playoffs, much in a similar situation to you. They needed Detonators and Tug Plasma to win and make sure they came out on top in points. Exactly the same in every way, really, because they also lost this game by about 7 points, which is pretty incredible, the parallels between this game. Tom takes it 96-89. History of this matchup: Tom's Tyrants has leveled the series 5-5 against Ben Necessities now. As you can see, it was a pretty close game, but Tom just nudged it out at the end of the 9 PM games. And on the Sunday night game, Chris, well, what went wrong for Ben Necessities?
It's just sort of abject play across the board. Unfortunately, again, you got some big players that have been coming up trumps through recently, the likes of Sonny Michel, the likes of David Johnson. David Johnson really hasn't benefited from a first round pick this year.
No,
but he's benefited from a rubbish offense.
Matt Ryan did better this one. He's been in a real bad stretch, and it made you wonder why they were sticking with him, but it paid off.
Yeah, for sure, exactly that, and yeah, that's really how the most of the points have been scored. I mean, let's be honest, Matt Ryan's been fantastic for Ben Necessities this year, and he's led them to a lot of games. So, and it's just a very average week all around. On the other side, you've got Tom's Tyrants, maybe they've scaled down 10% here. Philip Rivers would normally be in the 20s. They're formidable running back core again coming up trumps. Devontae Adams coming up trumps, but a guy like Kenny Golladay who's been very boom bust for them.
That offense has just sucked.
It has gone and
it's killed Golladay too.
Absolutely right. Trey Burton's not been that guy they expected in Chicago this year. There's a nice spot start for Badgley as a kicker. Again, Patriots D.
We saw that one coming too. We know the Patriots don't do well in Miami.
Exactly.
1-5 last 6 visits to Miami.
But 7 points again. It's not a terrible score, but it's not. It's not great. And at the same time, I think Tom's Times have really not benefited from Connor going down. That's been a massive blow for them, especially when he's going off.
And Gordon, let's not forget Gordon.
And Gordon, both guys who are explosive and going for 30 points a week. So. Unfortunately that's where they are right now. They're sort of hanging on in there. They're certainly not the best team in the LOC anymore, but they do have some sort of wind behind them. It's interesting to see what sort of form they can take into this week, but if they're still scoring 95 to 105 points a week, that's just not enough at this point.
No, absolutely not. Tom, as I said, they win their division. They do have the second seed in the end, and Ben Necessities miss out once again at 7-7. Our next game, Gridiron Gang took on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
At last.
At last indeed. And so Obi-Wan Kenobi, another one of these playoff chasing teams, they were pretty well situated with points actually. I think they weren't too far shy of the Detonators, so it would have taken a Tuck Pods and a Bird Detonators loss. And if they won, they were in pretty good stead. But on the other side of the ball, Gridiron Gang, obviously they were 2-11 entering this game. Their season had gone, as I said earlier. They could avoid being bottom with a win or just outscoring Pakistan in points. Pakistan lost, so if Gridiron Gang won this, they would avoid being bottom and tie their career worst record and sort of set a new one. And when did they? In one of their most impressive showings of the season, certainly since the start of the season, or week 5 onwards, I should say. 120 to 106. Good game, one of the better games this week actually. And as you can see here, Gridiron Gang sprung out, never looked back, which is not a sentence I've been able to say about myself this season.
Nope.
And with that, I'm also still undefeated against Holly Gardner. I'm 4-0 now.
Numbers don't lie.
There you go. We like to see it. And Chris, how different is Gridiron Gang now from what they were 2 months ago?
Well, they're not getting pummeled with points, which I suppose is different. They're not getting beaten by 130-point scores. This has been threatened to come for a while. The players have always been there. It's just a case of putting it all together and not getting
not
getting
being injured or punching people on the field.
Right, exactly that. So, but even with that play, even with Leonard Fournette back in the team, it didn't matter. It really didn't matter. One thing I will say is that Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's a very scruffy looking board for such a good looking score, and they managed to do this without really having any receiving core whatsoever. They've relied on their three running backs, which they've done very well with. They've managed over the course of the year to scramble those together. Pat Mahomes has been the constant in that team, and it's a really great D score this week as well. So I think it's a much improved year for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Certainly.
And in terms of where they're going to next season, I think got a lot of stead from that. As for you, a bit of a lost season, but so the players were there. And that's one thing you can be vindicated with. The players are always there, just maybe not every week, maybe not fit, and maybe not all combining to be able to beat teams who at the time were scoring huge points. Not seen before in this league.
Yeah, well, we covered it off earlier in the season. My first 4 weeks, I think I put over 100 each week and lost every one. So it took a while for the wins to come, but they were deserved when they did.
Absolutely.
For Obi-Wan Kenobi though, you talk about the receiving core, you're absolutely right. It's a shambles. Playing Jordan Reed with the third string quarterback, that was always a knucklehead move.
Agreed.
But for these two, I'll give them a bit of a buy on Ridley because Odell Beckham Jr. missed the game with that quad injury, to which I obviously benefited from. I sprung all over that with Sterling Shepard. Corey Davis is quite inconsistent. Was playing against a very good corner in Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
So there you go. So Obi-Wan Kenobi would miss out on purpose as well. But I will reveal one nomination for the awards. They are up. They're not fully done yet, but I've written most of them. They're up for the Overachiever Award, as you said. I kind of see it too. They did have a much improved year this year. Yes, Mahomes is a big part of that, but we definitely saw a step forward from a team that's really relied on gypsy wins and got away with it. I think they had a 14-14 record through 2 seasons, pretty much solely because of gypsy wins. This year, I think they've earned the 7 wins they've got.
Yeah, I think so.
Somewhat unfortunate not top 2 have done better.
Yeah, they've had the players this year, which cannot be said for other years previous.
Definitely. So our next game then. Well, we've done how many games? 1, 2. I think we've done 4 of the 6. So we're getting to the 2 good ones, and the picture we have now is essentially every team. Every team except Tuckfards, Bedadnaders, and Ixan have been eliminated because Tuckfards they didn't hold that return, but they had the points significantly over all the other teams I've just mentioned. So we'll go to this Tuckfards Crimea Rivers game next, because with a win, Phil could pretty much just sign, seal, deliver, stamp his passport for the playoffs. Meanwhile, Ross, he's been out of the contention for a few weeks now, but this is a team that has looked very good this season, and maybe with a bit more TLC, they could have probably been a playoff team. As it stands, they were entering this one 5-8. Tuckfards on a 2-game losing streak. Any one of those games they would have won pretty much would have secured it for them. They entered this at 7-6, needing a win, and once again, I've been proven right, and Phil is the Peyton Manning of the LSC because he's choked once again. 103-88 in favour of Ross. As you can see, Ross, it was kind of close at the start, but Ross took that lead, and Phil was just never able to sum up a reply. History of this matchup is a somewhat surprising 4-2 record for Ross against Phil now. So there you go. Chris, what happened at the Tuckfards?
Well, it's one of the bigger chokes in LSC history, and here's the reason why. It's because we've said this over the course of the year, is that at times the big scores from Gurley have papered over the cracks of some of the less good elements of this team, which largely are its tight end and its receiving core.
And its quarterback, which we always harp on.
Aha, this is it. Exactly right. So, Gurley, what does he do this week? Doesn't score big. He's not allowed to.
Can we just say great effort by the Bears?
I totally agree. It's they really just stifle that very hot offense. But without that, without the 20 points you can rely on from Gurley each week, it wasn't there. And he didn't have enough in his in the backups to make it work. You know, say Peterson didn't perform in what is a terrible Redskins team.
Yeah, again, we all saw that coming. He was asking for advice in the chat. No one was going to give it to him. He shouldn't have needed to. No. We know the fantasy pros and the experts and everything. Yes, they might rank these guys that way, but God, it's slim margins.
Indeed, and he's done. And to be fair, he's done very well for him at certain points of the year. But now, yeah, so you just got to know when to drop your players. You know, Kirk Cousins, we've said all year, has been the thorn in his side.
Yeah, and down countless times.
Absolutely right, and stuck with him. And this time he's letting down again. You know,
and it cost him. It's really
big time. What you see on the other side when you've got some solid, consistent performers. You know, you look at Luck, you look at Ellie, you look at Ebron, which has been probably one of the pickups of the year, I think. You know, even a guy like Mike Evans, who's getting you some consistent yardage.
Certainly.
Yeah, you don't need to rely on something like your DST to be able to score you big points to be able to keep you in the game. That's basically what happened this week with the Tigers, and they really are on a bit of a downhill stretch. And you know, when you've got guys like Thomas who's playing Tampa, you've got guys like McDonald playing Oakland, and you've got Lamar Miller playing Indy, and it's, you know, Allen playing Cincinnati. You expect bigger, but unfortunately wasn't to be. Tigers are in the consolation bracket. I think at this point, deservedly, if they got to the playoffs, then I think they would easily be the fourth best team in there. What can you say?
Yeah.
It's a shame because at the beginning of the year I thought, you know, they were surefire.
You were their biggest supporter.
That's it. And for some reason it just hasn't quite worked out that way.
Again, I said it at the start of the year when you were saying Phil's gonna win it this year, and the reason I said he wasn't is because despite I agreed with you, the team was good. I pointed to the guy running that team.
Can we
I'm coming back to that.
Let's look at the bench here. Come on now. Let's have a look at the bench here. Now, you know, there's not a great deal there, but we have been talking about. I'm not going to kick the guy when he's down because it does suck, but you know he hasn't got.
You wouldn't see it in the American media about the NFL. I'm going to do it, but I'll let you finish my point.
But it's all about QB for me.
Yeah, and that's my criticism. You hit the nail on the head. Cousins has been an issue for the entire season. He's had the occasional good game. You can see a 37-point there. He had a couple of good games there. If your quarterback, though, isn't consistently scoring 20 points, we always say 20 is the magic number because that's a pretty average quarterback score, right, for a week. If you look, how many sub-20-point games has he had here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 14 games, he's not even scratched 20. You obviously account for the big games that these quarterbacks have as well. He only had 1, 2, 3 games over 30. So it's been a problem all season long for them. He didn't do anything to correct it, and it's cost them. Yeah,
I would agree. Yeah, there are healthy alternatives out there, even streaming QBs.
Yeah, streaming QB. I mean, Trubisky was out there for ages. We saw Ollie pick up and drop Winston.
Baker's been out there for a while.
Yeah,
you know, Mariota was hot for a little bit. You know, there are guys who, yeah, you could have had, but even then, you know, so you just got to know when to drop and know when to. You know, last year when I was going for the Corona Bowl, I dropped Mariota very late.
Yeah.
And dropped Roethlisberger very late and picked Bortles out. And for the three weeks that I picked Bortles out, it was hot and it worked and he won me the thing. Sometimes that's just what you need to do. Just cut your losses and know where your weakest point is.
Yeah. So with that win, Ross improves his record slightly, and Phil basically eliminated himself from the playoffs, which brings us to this last game. And if you've been keeping track, yes, all of the playoff hopefuls have lost so far.
Yeah.
And this game saw two face off against each other. So only one, barring some crazy tie situation, one of the playoff hopefuls would indeed win in week 14. And Bedednators, once again, they've been hot. Their playoffs started in week 11, and they made the playoffs, ladies and gents. 128 to 83 over another team that was hoping, but again, far behind in the points. They needed a tuck foul loss 6, and they lose this one, but then they just steamrolls to the playoffs. You can see here, not even close really. Ben kind of sniffed it at a bit, but then it just fell away by the end of it. History of this matchup, Detonators are now 6-5 against Ixan and Chris. What a comeback from the Detonators.
I agree. It's from the depths of nowhere, and you have to look at some of the picks here. You know, it's a bold. We're talking about not very bold QB plays. We're talking about bold QB plays. Playing Winston here. He's been playing in the last few weeks.
Who's a threat to get benched or throw
right
6 turnovers or whatever in a week.
This is it. Yeah, he hasn't done that. You know, he again saw the lacking value of the Jags D, dropped them, picked the Titans up, done well with them.
Yeah.
You know, he's got guys like Ian Thomas who's in there, brought him in. Of all the people who picked up tight ends, he picked up 77 yards, better than any of the last three that Nigel's had combined. But what I do want to talk to you about is it's not necessarily about, you know, what's there, but what he's kept, and you know the holy trinity of McCaffrey, Barkley, and Philip Lindsay, who I think has probably been one of the pickups of the season. Has propelled him into the playoffs. You know, with those three, you know, I think
and Tariq
is there as well. Yeah, he's still there, and don't forget he's still got Watson on the bench as well.
And Alshon Jeffrey.
It's a strong team, and it's coming hot at the right time. You know, when you've got that three, you know, it doesn't matter what happened at the beginning of the season. Really, it's what happens now. And I think that the Detonators have got those guys in form. Ixan have finally been found out.
I think we said last week this would be the most Ixan way to make the playoffs possible. If Phil lost, everyone else lost, and they just end up winning their matchup and getting
absolutely right. Congratulations to the Detonators. And I have to say right now that, you know, this is the team in form, and we've seen over the last few years when you've got a team in form hitting their stride just at this time. It's a very, very difficult thing to beat.
It's basically the New York Giants. They squeak into the playoffs, they go on this crazy run at the end, and then they win the whole thing.
There they are.
But then it's a very primed to do this. Let's see if Tom's Tyrants, the Dream Team, or ADRZ can stop them. So that is Week 14. We wave goodbye to the regular season. We're going to take a quick pit stop at the milestones and the deep dive for one last time this season, and then we will do a quick preview so Chris can go and get his curry.
We get it in 12 minutes. Let's do it. So it's going to be very, very quick. So I do have to go.
Indeed. So if we look at the milestones, so we have a few coaches reaching 140 games, regular season games.
Yes.
I'm not sure what's going on with Ben's here, but he should be one behind us. So I'm going to have to double check this at some point. Ben wasn't a founding team, was he? Or was he? I'm chatting shit. Of course he was, but I've definitely done something wrong here. I'll figure that out later.
If you've got 70 regular season wins and 70 regular season losses, then that's hilarious.
He might
as well not bothered. Over the last 10 years.
Anyway, so the milestones. Phil Notch's 70th career loss. Congrats, therefore.
Wow,
yeah,
that's it. What a thrill.
Ben Notch's it's definitely 70 regular season losses because Chris saw me punch that one in earlier, so there you go. Well done. Let's see if we've got any other nice round numbers there. Doesn't look.
Viv's got his 60th regular season win.
He did. Congratulations, Viv. There you go.
Wow.
There you go. And yeah, nothing else there. So not much on the milestones. We'll take one last look at the deep dive this season and have a quick look at the Week 15 playoff games. So Tom does win the division, 10-4, good season for him. Also finished with the highest scoring team in the league this year, despite having the second highest points against. So they did really well this season. And behind them, 2 7-7 teams in Detonators and now Obi-Wan Kenobi and Crimea Rivers finishing just behind at 6-8. Portsmouth division, as we said, ADIZ won this division this week. Another good season for them. Meanwhile, Tugfiles, Fortifiers and Ixan all at 7-7 here, just missing out. And then finally the Winchester division, Dream Team wins the regular season with the 11-3 record. Bare Necessities there at 7-7. Then the Gridiron Gang and Pakistan 3-11, 2-12, running up the bottom respectively. And I did indeed finish with the most highest points against in the end, which will surprise no one because I was leading that category.
That's it. What did you get?
1585.
Oh, what time get? 1557. Oh,
and then the next closest is 14 something. So there you go. If we take a look at the breakdown, Tom once again reasserting his dominance, as was ADRZ. Those Both those teams finished over 100 wins. Dream Team, they're at 99-5, just behind them. And then this really did flip in the last few weeks. Ollie into 4th, so playoff teams that are there deserve to be there.
3 huge weeks at the end. You see that 11-11.
Exactly. I mean, that's the definition of getting hot right there. Obi-Wan Kenobi, they had a pretty good finish too, much like Ollie. They just couldn't quite do it at the end. Tuck Fards, though, as we said, apart from this 8-3 week here, they deserve to lose their last few. They've not been very good, certainly for the last month and a half. Chromia Rivers, they have, though, and obviously the opponent they beat, so they did pretty well. And then we have the other teams here. Laughably, a 7-7 team finished below a 3-11 team in the breakdown at the end of it.
Says it all, really.
Yeah, and well, almost lucky to not finish bottom. It's Palestine right there. Looking at the coach ranking now, ADLZ still at the top, as are Crimea Rivers, but again, that's really due to a lack of depth. Similar situation for Ixan. Phil's there in 4th, Dream Team in 5th. They've had a good coach this season, as have Tom. Chris, you were doing very well. You were 3rd in this category until this week.
And I got battered this week.
And it dropped you right down the rankings. Ben Necessity in 8th, Ben is in 9th. So, despite their roaring comeback, still points left on the bench. And then Palestine, Grenade Gang, and everyone going to be on the bottom. Quick look at the true ranking. There you go. The teams that are there should be there 3 at the top. Interestingly, Phil still manages to finish 4th in this metric, with Ollie in 5th, but it's pretty close, it's fair to say. And then there's the rest. It's pretty much as you would expect. So that's your deep dive. No power rankings yet. Keep an eye for those. Out for those, and Ben should release his article at some point as well. We are going to take a look at the 2 playoff matchups real quick, and we'll start off with this one. I think we'll agree this is probably the juicy one. It's the league winner against probably the league's hottest team, it's fair to say right now. Dream Team versus Bedenators. They're both riding a combined 10-game win streak coming into this, but Dream Team has looked a bit unsteady the last few weeks. Meanwhile, Bedenators are white hot, and the NFL site seems to agree with us on that, because they are projected to win 106-101 right now. History of this matchup, Bedenators are... it's 5-8 all the time against the Dream Team, so not the best, but we'll see. Looking down the lineups, injury-wise, I think Dream Team are okay in the starting lineup. For Bedenators, I think they're okay as well. Looking at the bench, anyone of them missing time? I don't think so. So Chris, please give me a quick preview of this game.
Alright, so I think Ollie here, I'm just looking at the matchups. I mean, they look fantastic already. I mean, it's Watson against the Jets, that's good. The 3 running backs, we said before, all got plus matchups.
Tennessee's a tough one, but Barkley's almost matchup.
Yeah, I think at the moment it's it. He's not really a real running back anyway in the traditional sense.
He's not around.
So Diggs against Miami's. That's great. Mike Williams against KC. I think he's going there for big play.
He's got on the bench. He's got Jeffrey against the Rams, Humphries against Baltimore, Anderson against Houston. So I can kind of see it. Personally, I'd probably lean towards going with Jeffrey. That established.
Absolutely.
Although I have just seen the Wentz is not playing this week, so
yeah, really well. I see. Maybe not, especially against the Rams. And the Jags against the Washington offense, which is hilariously good. What's on the other side? You look at Viv last week. He had some tough ones, and he's got even tougher ones this week. I think Goff against Philly's particularly tough.
They're losing a lot of corners, and you got to think LA are going to be able to get blood after what they did on Monday night.
I suppose being at home as well, there is that. But the key one I really want to talk to you about. The two running backs at the top, Camaro against Carolina away and Adams against LA away. That's for those two guys. That's not really what you want to have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thielen's good in the same way that Diggs is, but at the same time, one
can't
score the other.
Well.
Yes, and that. Ertz against LA for same reasons. Edwards started off well.
Yeah, the one game where he kind of established himself. Then after that, I don't think he's really been up to much lately. Let's just take a quick.
That's right. The last couple of weeks, I don't think have been quite as productive.
Nothing special.
It's been coming down.
Yeah.
And I say Kenneth Dixon's back in. He's probably the superior back there. And the Broncos D against Cleveland is good, but Baker's not been playing terribly.
Baker's been pretty good, and Broncos just lost Chris Harris.
Yeah, quite.
So they're not. They just lost to the Niners, in fact. That's all you need to know.
Say no more. I mean, George Kittle was crazy, but
yeah.
anyway, even so, we're going to go with the detonators here. I think.
You've read my mind because I was going to pick them.
So for sure, I say podcast goes with the detonators to get to the final.
Yeah. I think I agree. They're white hot. You said it yourself. They've got the good matchups. They've got the players in form. The Dream Team have been sparkling the last few weeks, and I hate to say it. I think it's going to be another one of these seasons where Dream Team dominates and just
falls away when it counts,
into the playoffs and then loses the first round. So, but then they just go to Corona Bowl 10. Next game then, ADLZ against Tom Starnes. Now this is a bit more of an interesting one.
Yes, it is.
Both division winners. Both accustomed to being in the playoffs, 3 Corona Bowls between them, so this is a great matchup right here on paper. Projections currently have this 102-79 in favour of ADLZ, but Tom Starnes are without a flex at the moment, and as I hazard to guess, they might still be starting an injured player or something like that. ADLZ are 6-8 against Tom Starnes at all time, so fairly close matchup. And if we look at the lineups here, Newton continuing to deal with that shoulder problem, but he'll probably keep playing, whether that's good or not remains to be seen. Tyreek Hill injured his heel, or re-injured his heel, in Sunday's game. It's going to be dicey as he's on the short week to play, so we'll see if they have him. Other than that, I think they're okay on Tom's side of the ball. All the starting players look okay, I think. On the bench, however, let's take a look at both teams. I think ADLZ's bench is okay. Melvin Gordon limited. I think it's about 50-50 for the Thursday night game. Boy, could Tom Starnes use him, but my guess is he's probably going to sit. We'll see. James Conner, possibility he returns, but again, my gut feeling would be he sits also. Chris, please preview this critical matchup for me.
I think the injuries and form have really decimated Tom's team.
They have.
And I think this is the problem here, is that they've got a lot of players, again, apart from Philip Rivers, that is going to be an absolute shootout. Again, as it always is with KC, so it is two of the league's hottest offenses. But again, Ingram against Carolina, Chubb against Denver, don't want to see that. Adams against Chicago, who shut down the very, very, very good Rams offense last week.
Yeah.
And Golladay against Buffalo in Buffalo, which this time of the year does have its challenges in terms of the weather. Trey Burton's not been great. I think Badger's going to be alright, and Patriots against Pittsburgh again, which doesn't bode well.
They picked up the Ravens against Tampa, which makes a lot more sense.
Which
they might already have them.
I get, but at the same time, Tampa's not been bad
fantasy-wise. Winston's a turnover and sack machine. He puts up the points, but he still gives the points away.
I think if you're going to put that in, you have to do that. I think if Pettis comes in, which could potentially happen, because he's not been bad recently.
He's been pretty good
for the 49ers. Then great, because there's not a great deal of other options there.
No.
On the other side, I think to be fair, 9 times from the same.
This isn't a great matchup.
This is
on paper it is the meat between the sandwiches.
Absolutely, because I think Cam's projected a little bit too high there.
Yeah,
so's Jackson, so's Samuels.
Yeah, both those guys are in committees, and the matchups aren't great. I don't think
the Saints D, I think it does bode well. There's one time to play
canvas
right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Smith-Schuster's been good. I think Uzoma's not a bad spot start, especially against the Raiders. Yeah. The big miss, I think, will be Hill. If for any reason he can't go, or is limited for any reason, then it's a massive hole in ADRZ's offense, because he has been the guy who's either going to be scoring a huge amount of points with him this year. He's been taking him to wins, and if we look on the bench and see what he's got left, there's not a great deal there.
It's probably going to be, I guess, you kick Schuster into the receiver. It's going to be either Gordon. I think Gordon's probably... You don't play Gore against Minnesota, I don't think. So I think it's probably Gordon. Maybe Spencer Ware also.
But it's very difficult to be able to pick. I just think that Tom...
I think he's got the better quality. I think, the matchups might not be there, but despite the injuries, he's still got Rivers, he's still got Ingram, he's still got Chubb.
He's still got Adams.
Adams against Chicago, I don't mind that, because Aaron Rodgers is used to playing Chicago, and Aaron Rodgers is not Jared Goff. So
this is true. What's on the other side? I think there's a lot of flaky. If you just said at the beginning of the season, you've got Jackson and Samuels are starting running backs.
Zamora is your tight end.
That's right. You're starting the Saints D. They've been good, but are they elite? Probably not. So I'm going to go with Tom Starnes. Yes, the projections are probably not in my favour in that, but they are the highest scorers in the league for a reason. They have done what they've done. They've got the best record for a reason. Yes, Nigel's done fairly well with what he's had all year, but unfortunately he doesn't have the same explosiveness that he had earlier on in the season.
Yeah, absolutely right. I agree with all the above. Tom's Tyrants, the Bedenators, Corona Bowl 10. You heard it here first.
We've had that before.
Have they played each other?
Tom's Tyrants have played Bedenators before in the Corona Bowl, no?
I don't think so.
No.
No. So Tom played me in his first one. We'll take a quick look. And then the second one in 2014.
If we haven't, that would be quite amazing because they're two
founding teams.
Perennial winners.
Two founding teams. Let's we don't want to read this season. We want the schedule. We want week 16. Tom played 5th.
Dream team. How about that?
So we can have a rematch of that, but not according to us.
Not according
anyway,
to us.
you've got a curry to go with.
I do. I have.
I'm going to watch The Apprentice and drink whiskey. So,
wonderful.
If you're around Sunday, please come and join us to watch the Week 15 playoff games. I won't be here early on, but I'll let you know when I am. Other than that, have a good week, and we'll be here at the same time hopefully next week. Have a good one.
Take care. Cheers.